All right, for today's explainer, we're jumping into what's basically a botanical detective story. But this isn't your typical whodunit. The victims? They're plants. And believe me, solving this identity crisis has some pretty serious stakes for human health. So, at the center of this whole thing, we've got these three plants. Now, they're all from the same family, they all grow in Brazil, and here's the kicker. They're all famous for being incredibly powerful medicinal plants, but there's a catch. This trio has a secret. A big one. And it's a problem that stumps everyone. Scientists, herbalists, even the local folks who use them. And here it is. They look almost exactly alike. I mean, to you or me, they're identical. Heck, even to a trained eye, it's tough. And this isn't just some fun little plant puzzle, right? It's a serious issue that absolutely needs to be solved. Okay, so let's open up the case file on this botanical mix-up and get to know our main suspects. All right, here are our three suspects. You've got their scientific names up there: Solanum crinatum, Solanum gomphodes, and Solanum lycocarpum. A bit of a mouthful, right? In Brazil, where they're from, they go by cooler names like Juá-açu or fruta de lobo, which actually means wolf's fruit. Pretty neat. And this is why it's so incredibly important to tell them apart. We're talking about plants used in folk medicine to treat really serious stuff, like diabetes. You can imagine, when someone's health is involved, you have to be 100% sure you've got the right plant. There's just no room for error. I mean, just look at the evidence here. They're all these shrub-like trees. They've all got these violet kind of star-shaped flowers, and they produce this big, round fruit. Even the texture, it's this velvety feel with little bristles. It's the definition of a mistaken identity case. So our plant detectives knew they couldn't solve this just by looking at the whole plant. It was too confusing. They had to go deeper, zoom way in, and hunt for clues that were hidden from the naked eye. Which brings us to the big question, right? How can you possibly be sure you're using the right plant when Mother Nature has made these perfect little fakes? Well, the answer comes from this really cool field of science called pharmacobotany. You can think of it like CSI for plants. It's all about investigating medicinal plants to create a rock-solid ID so we know exactly what's what before it's used as medicine. And for these plants, the big breakthrough, the aha moment, wasn't in the flower. It wasn't in the fruit. The key that unlocked the whole mystery was hidden right inside a single leaf, under a microscope. So the scientists took a closer look. They put the leaves under a microscope, and boom, a whole new world of clues appeared. It was like finding a unique fingerprint for each plant, a way to finally tell them apart for good. Clue number one was right on the edge of the leaf. If you look at Solanum crinatum, its edge is kind of wavy or jagged. But then you look at Solanum lycocarpum, and its edge is totally smooth. So, okay, that's a start. We can tell those two apart. But that doesn't solve the whole puzzle. They had to dig even deeper. Yeah, the leaf edge was just the beginning. The detectives found more clues. They looked at the leaf stalk, the inner anatomy, even the shape of the little pores on the leaf. But the real game changer, it came down to the texture on the top of the leaf, specifically whether or not it had these tiny little hairs. Once they started putting all these microscopic clues together, a full picture started to form. And this is it. This is how they cracked the case. Check this out. You've got S. crinatum with its wavy edge and S. lycocarpum with its smooth edge. Both of them have hairs on the top surface. But then there's S. gomphodes. It's the odd one out. It's got this kind of winding sinuate edge. And here's the clincher. It's the only one that's completely smooth on top, no hairs at all. And just like that, case closed. So figuring this all out isn't just a cool science trick. This discovery has some really big, real-world consequences for medicine, for protecting these plants, and for what we can learn next. So what's the big takeaway here? Why does all this detective work matter? Well, first off, safety. It means people using folk remedies can be sure they have the right plant. That's huge. Second, it's about conservation. By giving each plant a unique fingerprint, we can better identify and protect them. And finally, it opens the door for new science. Now we can study each plant individually and find out what amazing compounds might be hiding inside. You know, this whole case really makes you think, if these plants were hiding their true identities right out in the open, what else is out there? What other secrets is nature keeping, just waiting for us to take a closer look? Really makes you wonder. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.